What's up, gangsters? And Kevin, if you're watching, thanks for the beers, man. Also, I'm back with another disturbing movies video. And before you guys all get super excited to check out the Human Martyrs Holocaust 2, this video comes with a theme. With the theme being they're all animated. And let me be upfront here, I'm no expert whatsoever when it comes to animated movies. In all honesty, I'm not even that big of a fan. So perhaps the 5 movies that we're going to talk about in this video, they're probably the most obvious choices. And I guess they're not as much disturbing as they're just sad. But, you know, maybe it's disturbing how sad they are. Anyway, let that not ruin the fun today, and let's just take a look at the movies. And we're gonna start in the UK. Well, about half these movies are from the UK, but so is this one, a little movie called When the Wind Blows. It's based on a comic book, or a graphic novel, if you will. And, well, as you guys have come to expect from me, I haven't read the source material. You're gonna hear that about 4 more times in this video. So, let's just focus on the movie. Let's see. Hey, that's not animated. Ah, that's better. So, we follow this guy and his wife, Ducks. Well, that's not her name, but he keeps calling her that. Ducks. Never heard of that pet name. Anyway, they're just a simple couple living a quiet life in the country, and the man, James, he tries to keep up with the current events, being the ever-growing risk of a nuclear war with the Russians. So, with the help of some pamphlets, they little by little try to prepare for an incoming bombing. And they're so polite with their British accents.
Blimey, 3 days.
Language, James, language.
So proper and decent.
Come back, you stupid bitch, and get in the shelter.
Now that's what I call character development. Anyway, at some 30 minutes in, spoiler alert, the bomb does actually drop, and it's not a pretty sight. Well, actually, it is quite pretty, as in, you know, the way it's animated. It's quite a memorable sequence. But the result of this bombing, not so much. I don't want to spoil too much, but as you can imagine, you know, with a nuclear bomb exploding nearby and that, things aren't looking great. And as depressing as all of that might be, this movie is actually quite funny in a very, very dark way. And all of this, it comes from the couple. They're so naive. The way they reminisce over the previous war, how the lady is more worried about damaging the house rather than the actual bombing. They're hugely false optimism after the attack. It's all so sweet and innocent, but at the same time it's like, where's your head at, dog? Yeah, the dialogue is great, and from what I understand, it's mostly taken directly from the source material.
Well, we might have made it wide enough for 2 people. Suppose you were married.
We are married, dear.
Yes, well, there you are then. What about if you had children? Where would they go?
Oh, well, you just hold them in your arms. They'd soon fall asleep.
Besides that, the animation itself is kind of a show stealer. It's a somewhat, well not per se childish, but like a child-friendly style of drawing, which is very much in contrast with the subject matter. And the way it's combined with stop motion and intercut with other styles of animation definitely keeps it a fresh watch. But yes, in the end it's a movie about a sweet old couple being hit by a nuclear bomb. And yes, as funny as that may sound, it actually gets quite depressing towards the end in this movie. Which in today's video I guess we're gonna associate with it being disturbing. Although really, you know, this movie definitely has some sequences that could easily be described as somewhat disturbing. Or you know, let's just say it is. Anyway, great movie, great start. Let's see if we can say the same for the next movie. So, you guys like cats? I mean, I know I do, as long as they don't scratch me in the fucking face. So, what's this? Felidae? Felidae? Yeah, it sucks, you know, when a movie is just, the title is just one simple word and I don't know how to explain it. Especially since this is a German movie, so maybe their pronunciation is even different. Maybe something like Felidae! It's a movie about cats, let's take a look. So, Felidae, I was going to call it that. It's the biological family that includes the cat. Like this one here, Francis. Odd name for a cat, but hey. So Francis, or well, rather his can opener, that's how these cats refer to humans. Pretty clever, right? Recently moved to a new place and, well, Francis, you know, he's just exploring, making new friends and, oh shit, is that a dead cat? It sure is, and, well, Francis decides to put his detective skills to good use in order to solve the mystery, and while doing so, he finds out about all weird stuff like serial killers, crazy cults, twisted experiments, and a cat with computer hacking skills. So, yeah, that's basically what this movie is about, you know, without giving away how and if Francis solves the murder case. Often described as an animated neo-noir film with cats, which I guess is pretty accurate, although the noir aspect is mostly just the, you know, the detective/mystery theme of the movie. You know, the detective thinking out loud style voiceover definitely sets the tone.
Was ich dort sah, war sozusagen mein Willkommensgeschenk.
And I guess some of these shots and composition do mimic that film noir style in a way, but I'm personally not the biggest fan of the style of animation. To me it just kind of feels like a, you know, a somewhat generic 90s Saturday morning cartoon. It could easily be mistaken for a children's cartoon if it wasn't for all the cursing, murder, gore and sex. I mean, sure, it's cats having sex, but still. So that's a bit of a disappointment, although in contrast some of the dream sequences do really stand out. And that's probably what I enjoyed the most. Some of these are pretty intense and, dare I say it, a little disturbing. I guess the story could be considered pretty dark as well, taking in consideration that it's being told from the perspective of a cat. So, for example, seeing all these experiments being performed on cats, that's pretty hardcore. And, well, that's it's, you know, it's actually quite an entertaining movie. The mystery keeps you going. Well, that's mostly it. But hey, not bad. But also not the greatest animated movie ever. Apparently, it was the most expensive animated movie ever made at the time in Germany. Just a little trivia for you guys. As well as that this movie is based on the first novel in a series called Felidae. You know how but exactly. So let's just take a look at the next one, and it's a classic. Both the novel it's based on as well as the animated movie itself. The oldest movie on today's list is Watership Down. I know, right? So if you prefer your rabbits over your cats, this one is for you. Directed by Martin Rosen and based on the novel by Richard Adams. Well, let's just take a look. After a stunning opening sequence, I mean, I love this style, which explains to us the mythology, if you will, of the rabbit universe, we get to the rabbit universe, where we follow a bunch of rabbits. Mostly Hazel here and his little brother Fiver. And Fiver, he's a bit of a prophet here, or so it seems, because he is convinced that something bad is going to happen. So they want to warn and convince the rest of their community to get the hell out of their current warren and start fresh in a new spot. But their chief is like, fuck that shit, and, well, basically orders them to stay. So they escape with a small group of rebels looking for a new life. And, well, that's basically the story, filled with, of course, you know, a bunch of obstacles. So when it comes to the style and the animation, I adore this so much more than what we saw in the previous movie. It's just, I don't know, it's just much more classy, especially in combination with the British voice acting.
We've got to go away from here, all of us.
Go away? Well, the whole warren?
Yes, before it's too late.
Nice, but why is this movie on this list? It's just an adventure movie with rabbits, right? Well, it kinda is. And sure, like I said, during these adventures there's some ups and downs, and the downs can be a little bit of a downer. But I personally wouldn't really describe this movie as overly sad or disturbing. Mind you, I never saw this movie as a kid. I actually watched it for the first time when I started working on this video, so I don't have any nostalgic feelings toward it, you know, towards the movie. Doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I mean, I think it's a great movie. I just don't really get the comments saying that it's one of the most depressing or most disturbing animated movies ever. But hey, what do I know? It's a great movie nonetheless, like I said, and it does get the viewer emotionally involved. It pulls you in, you know, with their cute little rabbits. Well, some of them, the bad guys, if you will, they're pretty scary. And I also like how this movie seems to be a bit of a commentary on society. You know, with the way that the different communities are being run. I mean, one of them is basically a dictatorship. Yeah, it's great kids stuff. Some would argue though, like, oh, this movie is not at all intended for children, while others would be like, oh, you know, like it's a movie that can be enjoyed by people of all ages. I mean, personally, I guess I agree with the latter one. I mean, sure, there's probably some themes that are lost on the younger viewers, and it's definitely not just rainbows and sunshines, but then again, you know, life itself isn't all just rainbows and sunshines, at least not all the time. So yeah, pretty great movie. So, you guys enjoyed that one? I hope you did, because the next movie is from the same director, also based on a novel from the same writer. Of course, I had to include this one. It's The Plague Dogs. So yeah, if both cats and bunnies don't cut it for you, come on, I mean, gotta love dogs. Who doesn't love dogs? They're the man's best friend. Let's take a look at The Plague Dogs. So, right off the bat, we're witness to some pretty intense animal testing. Great way to set the mood, right? Anyway, that's some sloppy work there, dog. So yes, these two dogs escape. One of them being voiced by the late, great John Hurt, who also voiced one of the main rabbits in Watership Down. In general, both these movies have terrific voice acting. But back to the story. Snitter here, it's John Hurt, he remembers the good life with a master. So they're basically looking for a new one, but not a lot of people in this area. So they will have to survive on their own, and together with the help from this cunning fox, that's exactly what they do. But after killing a sheep or two for food, they little by little get more people looking for them, eventually resulting in a big media hunt down. Yeah, man, this movie is great. Much darker though than Watership Down. In a way that, you know, the bunnies on their adventure, they had their ups and downs. But for Rove and Snitter here, it's basically all downs. Something you'd assume perhaps more from a movie titled Watership Down, which I always assumed was like I don't know, a watership, I don't know, like a ship in the water going down, you know, like sinking. I never understood the link with the bunnies until I realized that it's the name of a geographical location, you know, it's where the bunnies go to. Anyway, man, these dogs are struggling. And it sucks, man. It's like they don't really have a choice, do they? Obviously they wanted to escape the experiment lab, but life out in the wild sucks as well. The thing is, you can't really blame them for killing a bunch of sheep to stay alive. But at the same time, and don't shoot me for this one, I also get the human's perspective. Like, for example, for a sheep herder, you also don't want some wild dogs killing your livestock. It definitely makes for an interesting contrast. But as a viewer, you are obviously mostly on the dog's side. But I guess I actually just want to leave it at that for this movie. If you haven't seen it yet, please check it out. It's fantastic, and it definitely stayed with me for a good while after seeing it. I know I keep comparing it to Watership Down, but I guess it makes sense. This one is just a lot darker and just way less hopeful. And I guess that's where the disturbing factor comes in. It's a hard-hitting one. I always come back to this one review, the top review on IMDb, is simply titled, "I Hugged My Puppy." And me personally, I'm not really a pet person, as in I never really had any pets, let alone a dog. But I do share a silly pug with my girlfriend, but he's living at her place. And I do love that little rascal. But hey, for all the people that prefer their fellow humans over their animal companions, I have one more movie left on this list for you guys. Let's take a look in Japan, and maybe you already see it coming, but yes, it's Grave of the Fireflies. A classic, both animated and war movie. I think it's the perfect way to end a list of basically just all sad and depressing movies. Grave of the Fireflies. Let's take a look. Directed by Isao Takahata, is that how you pronounce it? A co-founder of Studio Ghibli. Grave of the Fireflies tells the story of the siblings, young boy and his little sister. They're living with their mother, but fuck, it's 1945 Japan and they're being bombed by the Americans. Their mother is seriously injured during one of these attacks, so they're forced to move in with their aunt, who initially is quite welcoming and all that, but eventually, mostly due to a scarcity in food and whatnot, you know, tension rises. The aunt is basically calling them a bunch of freeloaders. So eventually the boy takes his little sister to live by themselves in an abandoned shelter. But as you probably can imagine, getting by is still a bit of a struggle. And as sad as that may sound, it's such a beautiful movie. Both in story, where it's, you know, like it's beautiful in a sad way. I guess you know what I mean. But also simply the aesthetics of the movie. The use of color, the compositions, it looks amazing. And it creates such a strong, you know, like mood, atmosphere that fits perfectly with the tone of the movie. So yeah, check it out. Nah, there's a lot more to say about this one, but I also don't want to spoil too much. So let's see, why is it on the list? If anything, I'd say it's way more sad and depressing rather than disturbing, as is the case with most of these movies on this list. I mean, like with the Plague Dogs, it's pretty hopeless. And even though you see some sparks of hope and joy throughout, you kinda know that things aren't looking good for these kids. Especially not after this movie opens with a flash forward, I guess it is, where we see the boy dying by himself in a train station. I mean, that's a great way to start a movie. And just throughout, there's some graphic stuff here and there. And the contrast between all this drama, and then on the other hand, you know, like how good of a guy the brother is and how sweet the little sister is. I mean, that's what gets to you, man. You know, as a viewer. Like The Plague Dogs, it's definitely a movie that'll stay with you for a while after seeing it. I mean, it happened to me. Highly recommended this one, as like I said earlier, both just a great animated movie as well as just a great war movie. This is good stuff. And in case you don't care for animated movies that much, this one, or well, rather the source material this one is based on, has also been adapted in a live action movie. Twice actually, 2005 and 2008. But, you know, like, I haven't seen them. It's like, you know, like, Grave of the Fireflies, this is Grave of the Fireflies. So yes, that brings us to the end of this video. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm not an expert when it comes to animated movies, let alone disturbing ones. So there's probably maybe better titles out there. I mean, I know that, for example, in Japan they make crazy stuff. So feel free to recommend me some animated titles that are like maybe more disturbing than the ones I've covered here, and you know, maybe I can do another part like this later in the future. But until then, see you guys next time. Cheers.